Hello class, Ryan again, and in this tutorial we will walk through Chapter 5, Exercise 1 in the textbook, and it appears to be all in inches. So I'm going to start a new drawing, and under templates I'm just going to choose No Template Imperial to get a completely blank slate. Really it doesn't matter because we're going to change our units anyway by typing in units, and this is all decimal inches, so inches. We'll do decimal with the precision of hundredths, so you're set up correctly. Now we're going to start in the 2D plane. When you have a complex object like this, it's easier to work in the flat 2D plane and then go into 3D to start copying your faces. So I'm going to start with a simple line command, and I'll start kind of at the top center, hit F8 to lock in my ortho, go to the left. Oh, it looks like that top edge is 0.78. Come down 0.50, go left. My ortho's on, so I'm typing in these live dimensions. 0.75, enter. Go down 1.5, enter. Go to the right 3.62. Now here we have an angle, so I'm going to turn off ortho and just drag my mouse roughly to the upper left corner and do shift at. We'll just pick 3 inches at an angle of, they say 60 degrees. AutoCAD is 0 to the right, 90, so 60 would be 90 plus 30, which is 120. 120, enter. Enter. Alright, now to get the other one, the other angled line, we have no distance again, so I'll start here from my upper point and drag down roughly to the lower right, say shift at. We'll just pick 4 inches at an angle of, they say 30, so we could plug in negative 30 or 330. I'll just do negative 30 because 0 is straight right, and enter to finish. TR, enter, enter, trim away the excess line work, and there you have your outer profile of that front face. Now I'm going to draw a circle. Just put it on this lower corner to start. D for diameter, 0.75. Move that circle, hit F8, so I'm moving directly to the right, 1.5, and I'll move it straight up, 1. And your textbook does give you a shortcut to move or create objects at a certain coordinate, but I find it more intuitive just to move a set distance like I'm showing you here. Now once that face is done, we can go to maybe like a southeast isometric to see what we've done here in 3D, and we probably should, I think we'll continue drawing in this plane and then we'll copy it, or rather we'll rotate it up once we have everything copied over. So I'll CO to copy, pick this object, and I'm just going to copy it down. Looks like the wall thickness is 0.25, and then we would be 1.25 and then 1.5. Remember, copy is a continuous command from your base shape or your base point. Now that I have that all copied out, let's rotate. And if I just did rotate, it would only rotate around the z-axis. So I'm going to do 3D rotate. It's a real powerful command that allows me to pick my objects, enter, pick my base point, which is just a corner, and then it says pick rotation axis. I'm going to rotate around the X or the red axis. And then it says specify angle or type in the angle. I'm going to type in 90 degrees. So I've rotated about the x-axis 90 degrees to get it standing up in the correct orientation. Now we're ready to start connecting the dots. So I like to start with the easy corners, very outside. Anywhere where a face breaks, you have a hard edge. So these should be connected, as you see here. Back here should be connected as well. Just a game of connecting the dots. And if your computer's a little bit slow like mine is this morning, you have to kind of wait on your OSNAP. Otherwise you'll be clicking away in space somewhere. Alright, and actually those two I didn't need because it goes to full length on the back. You gotta wait on the OSNAP. In the bottom corner here to here. And once you have those base lines, it's time to define your inner edges. So in this case, this line should come in 0.25 to define that inner corner, as should this one should come in 0.25, and then this should actually move up 0.25 to get that inner edge. And here, these two lines, I'm just going to move straight up 0.25. Okay, now I'm going to orbit around a little bit so you can see what's going on here. So I have my root edges, and now it's time to start trimming away the excess. Now the trim command's a little bit finicky. If I did trim right now, it would say, hey, I can't trim that line because it's looking at anything in my plane of my UCS. So if I do UCS 3P, and I make my UCS on this plane where I'm trying to trim, so I'll put my origin here, my X here, and my Y would go up to here. Now it should trim. TR enter enter. Oops, TR enter enter. Now it'll actually trim. So just bear in mind that trim can be a little bit frustrating, and if it's not working, your UCS needs to be lined up with the line that you're wanting to trim. Trim away what's left up in these corners that we don't need, and what's left on these bottom corners that we don't need. Now you notice it's not trimming this line because the x-axis isn't lined up with it, but I can just use the grip points to get it where I want it to be. Okay, I'm going to hit, actually before I do, I need to connect these dots here as well. And trim away those. Okay, that looks better. UCS, enter, enter, gets it back to the world UCS. Now orbit around to see what you're missing. I see a line that I'm missing, and you all probably do too. Actually, this needs to be gone, that line. But I need to add the inside corners. Any change in plane or change in face is defined by an edge or a line. Slow down, let it find the corner point. There we go. Take one more look, make sure we're good. I believe that we are. Now comes kind of the laborious task of making this into a what looks more like a realistic shape. If I hide now, the only thing that hides are the circles because they're solid loops. Regen to unhide. So we're going to put 3D shading on each face so it looks hidden, and that's called the 3D face command, where we'll use rule surf as well, and then edge to clean everything up. So I'm going to start on the hardest face, which is the face that we're staring at right here. And to do that, if you look here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I count right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, actually 7. I have 7 faces here that I need to somehow get shaded. And it's real difficult because these 3D shading commands only work up to a 4-sided figure, and rule surf only works with 2 sides, so we've got to think about how we want to divvy this up. And I think what I'm going to do is cut up this circle into 7 pieces, and then I can rule surf to each of those 7 pieces. So bear with me here. I think what I'm going to do is create a new layer first. So if you type in layer, you'll bring up your layer command. I'm going to make a new layer, which I always forget what button it is. There it is, new layer. And we're going to call this my shading, maybe. We'll change the default color to something green that will stand out. Okay, close that down. So what I'm going to do, go back to my home tab so I can see my layers now. I'm going to make shading the current layer by clicking on it. It stays highlighted, so now any new line work that I draw will be that color. If I draw a line from the corner to the center of this circle, and by the way, I have my O snap turned on, that's the F3 command. So I'm just drawing lines to segment this face, for lack of a better term. And by the way, there's lots of different ways you could approach this. This is just the way that I'm choosing to approach this. We'll show you all the commands as we work through this object. Okay, so there are my lines. I'm going to trim away. Can't trim away UCS 3P. Let's put UCS right on the face that we're working on. X, Y, there it is. Now our trim command will hopefully work. Yes, it does. Trim away that excess line work. Okay, so if you can kind of see through all of our stuff going on here, what I've done, I've divided this up into multiple pieces. Now what I'm going to do is break this circle up with the break command. So I hit break, enter, and it says select object. Where you pick is where it's going to start to break. So I'm going to pick just above that line, and then second point right there. And if I hit extend, I can extend it back out. Okay, so I've in essence cut my circle up. Now I need to get this over to my next point. So this gets a little bit challenging here. So I think I'll extend it all the way. I don't really like that. I'm going to undo and go back and break this up a little bit differently. Instead of breaking from there to there, I think I'm just going to break maybe halfway, so I can show this a little bit better. Now what I can do is trim. You know what, I don't want to do that either. Sorry folks, thinking on the go. I'm going to trim with all of these points, and I'm going to trim out every other face of the circle. You'll see why I'm doing this here in a little bit. That one needs to go away too. Now to finish our circle out where I don't have circle, what I want is basically a segment of the circle for every piece of the pie for rule surf to work. What I'm going to do is copy this back circle using maybe this as a base point from here to here, and now I can finish trimming out what was left. So if I trim again, and remember where I hadn't trimmed, I believe I want to trim those guys out. So let's see, I've got a segment there, segment there, segment there, segment there, big segment, little segment. So I believe that's right. If you paid attention to what I did, I basically trimmed away and then added a circle and trimmed again to get a piece of the circle corresponding with each segment. Now if I delete all of my original shading lines and I use the command rule surf, I can pick my first curve and my second curve and it'll shade that piece of the pie. Now when you pick, you've got to pick kind of close to the edge, not in the middle, close to the edge, and then the same edge, so top of both of those and it hatched between those two. Same way here, pick here, here, hatches those, pick toward the top of this line and toward the top of this one, pick toward the top of this one, and we'll go on this side of this one. Yep. No, I think I missed one. I think that's something doesn't seem quite right. That might be right. We'll do rule surf again. I might find that I've made a mistake when I get around to the bottom. Pick toward the left side of each of these lines. We'll pick toward the bottom of each of those. And here I do have a problem, so I'm going to erase that one away. What did I forget? I think I forgot to make a segment right here. So I'm going to go back to center of the circle. Yeah, this should have been trimmed away. So another trick here is I can copy this, copy this circle from say base point to base point. So I have two lines on top of each other. Now if I trim, if I click here, I've trimmed that side. If I click left drag here, I've trimmed this side. And I'm left with the two pieces that I want. A little bit confusing. I had two lines on top of each other and double trimmed to get my segments. Now if I do rule surf, again, pick toward the right of that line and the right of this line. Got it. And I keep on saying pick toward the same side, because if you pick toward the left and then the right, it gets confused and it crosses the rule surf. So go toward the same end of each line so that they end up being parallel. All right, so there we have rule surf for that really complex side. If we hide it, you'll see that now it looks like a 3D solid, at least on that face. RE to regen. Now, to do the rest of these, it's fairly simple. We'll use rule surf again to get the inner edge of this through hole. So rule surf. That works because it's still just two edges. So hover and get just the circle and not the other surf. In this circle, it says cannot mix open and closed paths. Let me regen here. I went UCS World to see if that was an issue, so I'm going to pick that curve and that curve. For some reason, the reason why is because I cut that circle up. So what I'm going to do is copy this circle from corner to corner again. I had a segmented line on one face and an unsegmented on the other. So now if I pick this line and the whole circle, it works. Now if you don't like, those big segments, delete that out and type in surf tab 1, and you can pick the number of segments. Maybe we'll make it 15. And if we type in rule surf again and pick circle 1 and circle 2, it looks a little bit more realistic. We can do this as well. Spacebar repeats the command. So those are the hardest, a little bit easier, and then one of the easiest is 3D face. And 3D face allows us to define edges of a 3 or 4 sided polygon. So side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4. And it makes it into a 3D face. And if I'm going to enter out of this command, it's kind of hard to see what's going on. So everything we've done in rule surf has to be done in wireframe, but when I do 3D face, I can do that in more of a conceptual or a shaded view. So I'm going to do a shaded view so you can see this progress. Now I'm going to type 3D face and do corner 1, corner 2, corner 3, corner 4. And as soon as you click that fourth corner, it goes. Now, I can continue this command by just clicking the next 2 corners, and it fills in the voids because it's defining a face. And as soon as I have that third point, it's a face. So that last point acts as point 1, point 2, point 3, point 2, point 3, point 2, point 3, point 2, point 3. And here I have to kind of go by faith because I can't see beyond. Just like so, and then hit enter to finish. So if you just have simple rectangular or polygonal sides without holes, it's a lot easier. Unfortunately, 3D face doesn't work when you have a through hole. Now I have a few other faces, but they will work basically the same way. I'll just show you a quick shortcut here. If I copy this 3D face, this rule surf, I can copy that just like I would copy any other line or object. So that makes quick work of doing your sides. I understand that here it goes down too far, but I'm not too worried about that since it'll be hidden here in a moment. And to get these inner faces, kind of hard to see. So I'll maybe try and do it from back here. 3D face. We could go from here, here. And I got to type in end to override because I couldn't find it. END for end. Lots of endpoints in that corner. Got it. And then we can do 3D face again. I guess we'll just go ahead and do this whole thing. Corner to corner to corner to corner. And that one I don't think came out right. I clicked outside of the plane. I messed that up just a little bit. So let's do that one again. 3D face. Here we have so much going on that I'm going to turn off my OSnap and physically type in end so I can be sure I get the correct endpoint. So each time I'm typing in end, zoom in a little bit more to make Make sure I don't get the wrong point. There we go. And then the bottom here is going to be kind of hard to get. We'll try it here, 3D face. Probably should have started with the bottom and not done something else. Maybe if I look at the bottom. Actually, better yet, we'll just go back to our wireframe mode. Now I can see the lines a little bit better. 3D face. So we'll go from the end of that guy to the end of that guy. And then our last one is the very bottom, 3D face. Thanks for bearing with me here. From the end of here, I'm going to go way out to where it intersects the front, and then back. There we go. So now if I go back to my visual style in the View tab, make it shades of gray. Take a look around at what we have. We've got our completed shape. Now you may say, what in the world is going on with these lines? Well, where 3D faces intersect 3D faces, it's defined as an edge. So to clean this up, type in edge, and it says specify edge to toggle visibility. So if I click just on the edge, and it's the edge between, and it looks like these, since they're rule surf, I can't get rid of the edge, unfortunately. Here's an example of an edge I can get rid of. Rule surf, we can't get rid of those, but these edges we can. If I type in edge, click here, enter, it should do away with it. And I'm still not able to completely get rid of those. Let's go and change our view a little bit. Yeah, for some reason I'm not able to toggle those off on this particular drawing. I've got enough line work going on that I just can't get it to go. So I won't hold you accountable if your edge doesn't work either like it should. But when you're all done, do a quick orbit. Take a look around, and this is a wireframe model that we've applied 3D faces to, and it's, I think, intentionally cumbersome to make you appreciate the 3D modeling that we'll do next. So thank you for your patience, and let me know if you have any questions.